Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic. You might be hearing on a lot of platforms that Canada's immigration is closed. We are going to tell you that what's the real truth behind it. So stay tuned. Okay, let's talk about why is immigration so important to Canada. If you see every other country, they have their basic sources of income. Some had agriculture, some is tourism, some is wars, weapons and stuff. Canada, the biggest driver in economic growth is immigration. So if you even see the projections of immigration, they usually bring about 300,000 people every year. But for the next 3 years, they decided that they're going to bring in about 1 million people. I want to show you a link wherein they show that by year 2100, they want to have 100 million people living in Canada. Right now, the Canadian population is about 33 to 34 million. So if they want to achieve that target, there is no other way to achieve it but with immigration. They can't just produce that many babies all of a sudden. So make sure that you know this fact. So the Canadian immigration is not going to stop. It's always going to go up because, again, this is one of the major sources of economic growth in Canada.
Okay, so we're looking at Stats Canada website, which has the information for the population count and population growth in Canada. And it clearly mentioned that by year 2036, we're going to have 40 to 47 million people living in Canada. And by year 2061, it's expected to grow to 43 to 63.8 million people. And it also says that the migration increase would be the main driver of population growth in all scenarios. So this information is more than enough to tell that immigration is going to be the biggest factor helping Canada reach its population goals. So you do not have to worry about Canada stopping the immigration or closing the border anytime soon. The immigration is going to continue to grow.
So let's talk about the situation we have in Canada right now. Most of the country is in lockdown. Even though it's not a complete lockdown, we can still go out. But immigration wise, the borders are closed for everybody who's a non-citizen or a non-resident. Anybody who has a temporary visa cannot come into the country. And if you look at the projections of how long this whole lockdown is going to stay on, we are looking at about 18 months. So it's a really long time that everything is going to be closed. So you got to be careful when you're making the decision to come to Canada. If we look at jobs for anybody who's either living in Canada as a permanent resident Canadian citizen or a new immigrant, it's estimated in last month people have lost about 1 million jobs. That's a huge number. I won't say that all of those jobs are lost permanently because many companies, they shut down the doors only temporarily because they're not able to make any profit, so they're not able to pay their employees. And there are other companies who have implemented a different way of dealing with this problem. Rather than closing the company altogether, what they have done is they are doing something called a work share program, wherein the employees are not laid off, but their work hours are reduced. So for the reduced hours, the government is actually helping people with that amount of money.
Okay, since we all know that Canada is one of the best countries you can expect to live in, and it's one of the nicest as well, even in this most difficult time, what Canada has done is remarkable because they've decided to help the citizens living in Canada along with the businesses as well. So if you see the economic response plan on this website, you will see that they have plans for individuals and families. They have plans for people who are losing income. They have plans for indigenous people, which we also call natives, and they also have plans for the most vulnerable people in the society, plus the students. For students, I believe they have a limitation. If you are a student, you must have made about $5,000 in the last year as income. That's the only time when you can actually apply for the benefits. For businesses, what they have done is in case the business is not able to operate at full functionality and they have to lay people off, because they are not able to make money. The government is telling them, rather than laying people off, they can use the people and get them to work on a timeshare basis. So the reduced amount of hours people are working, but they're not losing their jobs, and whatever money they are losing because of the reduced hours, a portion of that is being covered by the government. So you can see that that's a great thing to do, and that's how they're trying to make sure that everybody has food on their tables and they're able to support their families.
About schools, what's happening is that again, majority of the schools are closed and they do not really have a date when stuff is going to be opened up. But there are other schools, wherever possible, what they're doing is they are doing the classes online. I'm actually going to a school right now for just part-time for something, and even my classes are being held on the internet using Zoom. So thankfully my school actually is doing that, so I'm not losing any time for that. If we talk about is it going to be okay for anybody to come to Canada right now, the answer honestly is that you should not if you are a new immigrant. The biggest problem you're going to face is, once if you are even allowed to come into Canada, they're going to ask you to stay in quarantine for at least 2 weeks. And if you are new to the country and you do not know anybody here, it's going to be really difficult for you to find accommodation. And since you're not going to be able to go out, how are you going to afford your food and pretty much anything else you need to do? So be very careful while making the decision. Take your time. Even if you are if you have got your COPR and you're really anxious to come to Canada, this is not a really good time to come to Canada right now. So maybe 4 months from now, 5 months from now, things will be different, but at this very moment, it's not a very good time. Alright, let's speak about people who have applied for the express entry and they have not received their COPR and they're still in the waiting list. All you gotta do is keep waiting, man. There's nothing else to do. Once you keep waiting, maybe spend your time learning something which is going to be beneficial for you. If you want to work in trades over here, learn something which is going to help you get into the trades faster. If you are in software industry, maybe learn a new software or something. For people who have received their POR and they are not sure about what they're going to do if the time frame of the COPR expires, the Canadian government or the immigration department, what they have done is rather than doing physical lendings, they are actually doing the lendings on the phone. So you can actually check that out. Or if you want to postpone it or you want to get an extension, there is a web form you can fill out. I'm going to leave a link down below. You can check that out as well. Or sooner or later, what's going to happen is the travel restriction bans are going to be lifted. Things are going to start coming back to normal. What's going to happen then? So if that happens anytime soon and you get onto a plane and come to Canada, it's again going to be very difficult to find a new job right at the beginning, because again there's a lot of job losses happening all around us. And when you come here, if you do not have a good Canadian experience, that's an important word. If you do not have a good Canadian experience, it becomes a little bit difficult to find a new job. Unless you are in a profession which doesn't need any licensing and you have quite a lot of experience from back home. So make sure that you are prepared to do some kind of odd jobs for the first few months while you are waiting for getting a new job which is suitable to your profession. And the second thing which might be a problem is you may have a little bit of a difficulty finding a place to rent, because people are a little bit scared, specifically from the people who are traveling abroad, because all of a sudden everybody knows that if you're traveling abroad, the chances of you having a virus is high, so you may have a problem with that as well. Same thing with Airbnb. I believe they are shutting down a lot of operations all because of this pandemic, and you may have a problem finding a place on Airbnb as well. So last but not the least, what can you do well when you're waiting for all of these travel restrictions, bans to be over? Well, the first thing is very important, which I tell pretty much everyone, is spend some time with your family, because once you are so far away from them, it becomes a really difficult thing to go back and spend some time with them. So use this time I'll tell you, if you don't, you're going to regret it. The second thing is, if you know the tradition, or sorry, if you know which job you're going to do when you come here, you can actually prepare for that job or learn some skills which are going to better help you in getting a new job over here. The last thing you can do, if you got your COPR, you can actually come here, stay for some time, maybe a month or two, and see how this country works, how everything works over here, and then go back. For that, you don't have to leave your job, you can just take a vacation, and that way once you come here, you do your learning, get your PR, then go back home, and then you make a decision that if you actually want to come in this country and stay for a very long time and make this your new home. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is about it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like the information we provide, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, because we intend to give you a lot of more information like this, which is going to be really helpful to you. In the meantime, thank you very much, and stay safe.